Several years ago, I built a computer desk for my kids, and over the years, it has not held up very well. It was a decent design, the execution just wasn't very good, so I decided to make a new one. One thing I decided to do different this time was to make the top out of cherry and purposely keep the sapwood. One thing that I think gets overlooked a lot when people are assembling panels is paying attention to the color and grain direction. So I spent quite a bit of time rearranging boards, flipping them over, moving them back and forth until I got the pattern that I was happy with. If you're making a table, make sure you spend enough time on this part. It really pays off. So with the boards all prepped and the pattern that I wanted, I went ahead and glued them up. I like to use a couple cauls when I'm gluing up a panel just to help it stay as flat as I can get it. And of course, clean up any glue squeeze out. Now you could say, don't get rid of the squeeze out at this point because you're going to rub the glue into the fibers. I take care of that later. So for the legs, I had some old 12-quarter alder laying around. I really don't like alder, but it's been in my shop for years and I wanted to do something with it, so that's what I used to mill up my legs. And someday I'll probably make a new base for this table, just because alder is so light and dense so easy, it's just not my favorite. I don't think I've ever used tapered legs in a project before, so this was another experiment here, just cutting the tapers on the legs on the bandsaw. It turned out alright. I did have to clean them up on the jointer. For some reason, whenever I record video on my phone of the jointer, the camera shakes. I'm not sure why. And I took the stock for the stretchers, trimmed that to length. Cut a groove on the upper underside of each one of the stretchers. This is for the metal Z-clips I'm going to use to attach the tabletop to the base. And then of course sanding away the jointer marks. This is why I didn't care about the glue squeeze out. Any glue that I may have spread into the surface of the wood is just going to get sanded away. Then I trim the ends of the panel to square it up. And I ended up replacing the saw blade because those burn marks were so bad. The new blade did much better. After truing up the edges, I cut a 30-degree bevel, and then added a little 90-degree section. I set the track back 1/8 of an inch to cut that. I just like how that made it up the corners. I got a nice profile without the router. And then of course lots of sanding. The edge profile had to be sanded by hand. It was far too narrow to use a powered sander. Got the branding iron out and left my mark. And then after some Charles Neal blotch control, I put on several coats of Armor Seal. I haven't used my Domino in a while, so I decided to put this together with Dominoes. I wanted to use 10mm Dominoes, but the stretchers that I cut were too narrow to be able to get two 10mm, so I went with two 5mm. Yeah, They're a little small, but this table's not going to move around any. And like I said, at some point I'm probably going to rebuild this base with ash, something a lot more heavy and more durable. Clamp that up, let it dry. Since alder is so prone to blotching, and I was planning to stain this, I wanted to use Charles Newell blotch control in the base as well, so I had to pre-raise the grain, and I just used a damp rag to do that, let it dry, and then lightly sanded it with 320 grit sandpaper. To the blotch control, and I had to sand it again once the blotch control was dry, also 320 grit. Then I went with an Old Masters Spanish Oak gel stain. I ended up only doing one coat of that. Then some Sherwin Williams Pre-Cat lacquer. I don't really like my spray gun, so once this can is gone, I'm probably not going to use the spray gun anymore. Then I centered the base. Got out the Z-clips, pre-drilled the holes, and screwed it in place. Then took it inside. And this is it. I think it actually looks pretty good. My kids think it looks a lot better than the old one too. If you want to see more of the things that I do in my shop, please subscribe, and if you like this video, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. Thanks for watching.